In the summer of 1518, the city of Strasbourg, located in the Holy Roman Empire, became the epicenter of one of history's most inexplicable and terrifying events. This was a time of hardship, famine and disease stalked the land, and fear gripped the hearts of the people. Yet, amidst these grim conditions, a phenomenon both surreal and deadly unfolded. This is the story of the dancing plague, a mystery that continues to baffle scholars, scientists, and historians over 500 years later. To understand the events of 1518, we must first understand the world in which they occurred. Strasbourg, a prominent city in the Alsace region, was a hub of commerce and culture. Yet, in 1518, it was a city on the brink of collapse. Famine had ravaged the region for years, with poor harvests and skyrocketing grain prices leaving many to starve. Diseases such as the plague and smallpox were an ever-present threat. And as if that weren't enough, the church's grip on daily life filled many with a deep sense of guilt and fear of divine punishment. The people of Strasbourg lived under constant pressure, physical, emotional, and spiritual. It was a perfect storm for something extraordinary to happen. It began, as many historical mysteries do, with a single person. Frau Trophia, an ordinary woman by all accounts, became the unlikely harbinger of the strange events to come. On a warm July day, she stepped into the streets of Strasbourg and began to dance. Her movements were not graceful, but erratic, as though her body moved against her will. At first, her neighbors laughed, thinking it was some strange joke or an act of defiance. But as the hours turned into days, their amusement turned to concern. Frau Trophia danced relentlessly, stopping only when sheer exhaustion forced her to collapse, only to resume her dance after brief moments of rest. By the end of the week, others had joined her. At first, it was just a handful, but soon dozens were dancing uncontrollably in the streets. It was as if the plague had a mind of its own, choosing its victims indiscriminately. Men, women, and even children fell under its spell. By the end of the month, the number of dancers had swelled to hundreds. This was no joyful celebration. The dancers were in agony, their faces contorted in pain. Many danced until their feet bled, collapsing from sheer exhaustion. Some even danced to their deaths. The city was in chaos, and the authorities were desperate for answers. The physicians of the time were baffled. They dismissed supernatural explanations, such as witchcraft or possession, and instead turned to the theory of hot blood, an imbalance in the body's humors. Their prescription? More dancing. Believing that the dancers needed to expel the fever from their bodies, the city erected stages and hired musicians to keep the afflicted dancing. But instead of curing the plague, this intervention only seemed to make it worse. The epidemic spiraled out of control. By September, the dancing plague had mysteriously ended as abruptly as it began. The survivors were left traumatized, and many never fully recovered. The city tried to move on, but the memory of that summer lingered like a dark shadow over Strasbourg. In the years that followed, the dancing plague was spoken of in hushed tones, a cautionary tale of divine wrath, or perhaps a warning about the fragility of the human mind. Centuries later, the mystery of the dancing plague continues to fascinate and perplex. Modern scientists and historians have proposed several theories. One of the most popular is ergot poisoning, a hallucinogenic mold that grows on damp rye. Ergot can cause convulsions, hallucinations, and other symptoms similar to those observed in the dancers. Others believe it was a case of mass psychogenic illness, brought on by the extreme stress and hardships faced by the people of Strasbourg. The theory suggests that the dancing was a psychological response to the collective trauma of famine and disease. But not everyone is convinced. Some suggest supernatural causes, such as divine punishment or curses, while others see it as a form of social rebellion against the oppressive conditions of the time. The dancing plague of 1518 serves as a chilling reminder of how external pressures can manifest in strange and unexpected ways. Could something similar happen in our modern world? Some experts believe it's possible, especially in times of collective stress or fear. The truth behind the dancing plague may never be fully understood. But one thing is certain, it remains one of history's most haunting and enduring mysteries. What would you have done if you had lived in Strasbourg that summer? Would you have been a helpless onlooker, or would you have joined the dance? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that blur the line between fact and fiction.